we want to take this time to point you at another podcast. We really grateful you're here to listen to us, but you should also take a minute and go and follow and subscribe to Hearts and Carts. They're the CPG podcast. It's run by Alex Hill and Justin Osborne, and it's about the people behind the products that are winning hearts and filling carts. We love these guys. They've been on the show. We've been on their show, and we think they're doing amazing things, and you should stop in and listen to them.
Welcome to This Commerce Life. We are an unscripted podcast dedicated to small businesses and entrepreneurs in the retail and consumer packaged goods space in Canada and the United States.
I am Phil Chang, co-host and co-founder.
And I'm Kenny Benucci, co-host and co-founder of This Commerce Life.
Our love is the journey to retail, and our passion is sharing that with you every week.
Well, are you kidding? The whole day's been like...
I know. I feel it too. I just feel like I'm rushed.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Very well. Very well. Yeah,
We're
it's nice to see you again. We are. Take two.
Take two.
But this time the they're good. They're good. We will make this happen. So I am very, I'm sorry.
I mean, we get to talk to you twice. That's
yeah, we
okay.
we do, and that's not such a bad thing.
No, just so audiences know,
Yeah.
Phil had a recording problem.
I did. I had a hiccup. So we met Sonya like during the Christmas break, actually, and we recorded, and then goodness,
went to publish.
Like I went to publish. No, I went to edit, and it was
same.
The audio was awful. It was and it wasn't you, it was me. Like it was us on our end. I'd done something with the filters I was using to record. Because when we were doing yours and over the Christmas holidays, I was struggling with audio a little bit. So I was messing around with mics and all that kind of stuff. So I clearly just messed around with one too many switches. So yeah.
The best thing for me, Sonya, is basically my memory is so short. I remember talking to you, but I don't know what we talked about. So like it'll be a brand new podcast for me.
Right. I know. I'm really interested to know how much my story changes. I mean, there's just always...
Who's going to know?
Who's going to know? Nobody will know.
You want it to be casual, right? So it really got me thinking today. I heard you guys saying you were rushing, and I think every day is a rush, but today for some reason, zooming by, like the fact.
Okay, it's not just it's you, us too. I mean, it's 2:00.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened.
The days are supposed to be getting longer.
I know.
Oh no, they're getting longer, all right, but not for all the right reasons. Like, oh, what did I do there?
No, you killed your video now.
I did.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like the whole day just kind of went sideways, and I thought, wow, it's already 2:00. Anyway, it is what it is.
I was thinking about my story and how I'm going to tell it just in general when you tell your story. And then I've been thinking a lot about Chat GPT lately and how it'd be interesting to try and see how you can change your story. Like you can write a book in a matter of minutes now. And I
never thought of it that way, I guess. No, seriously, it's funny. So my goddaughter is in this space. So she's in San Francisco now. And what they're doing is I guess not with a think tank, it's a private company, but I think what they get contracted out to do is to sort of look at AI writing in general and what are all the ethical and copyright, I guess all those sort of lines. I mean, I know people are hyperactive, and this is pretty cool because we've used it. I mean, I've used it to help write blog posts, etc. Yeah. But I'm also I'm for sure. I'm older school. So just because someone says it doesn't make it right. Right. So I'll read it. I like the way it looks and feels, and I use it because sometimes I just can't get ideas in my head. And I'll look at it and say, okay, but let me go verify that. Well, maybe I'll double check that. That doesn't sound quite right. Or that sounds too right. Do you know what I mean? So I'll go back and do now some work. It just gives me a good framework to write from.
Yeah, and you're spinning your wheels. Like when I do posts sometimes, because I do posts every
Thank you.
day.
And you're thinking like, okay, what now? What am I going to do?
This sounds like yesterday's post. What the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so how are you finding it though? So you're doing it for the same thing that we are. I was doing it more for the blog post as opposed to an Instagram post, but it doesn't matter. It's a short blog. So you're probably in the same boat. You're thinking, I know roughly what I want to talk about, but I can't freaking spit it out. It's
just a
there.
for me, yeah.
And so I'll go in and type in whatever, let's say matcha tea, Japan health benefits. And then it spits back thinking, okay, yeah, I can do this. This is a good starting place for me to do something, whatever that means. Same thing?
I've been more amazed than not. Same thing. So I'll say I'm today, well, I won't say today, write a post about natural body cream. And I'm actually amazed. I said exactly that a few days ago. And it actually picked ingredients that were in the body cream that I wanted to talk about. I'm like, wow.
Now, are those because they're ultra common, or is there another thing on top of you that's sneaking through and knowing what you do?
It's always good to wonder that, but I think it's really just when you say natural body lotion, it's going to say, well, the
certain
base
ingredients
for that body lotion are aloe and coconut.
Yeah, typically it's these, and that's where they go. But to your point though, but if you don't, because I know people are doing this, I emphatically know this. I know people are not necessarily reading. I mean, they've done enough checks on the AI where some come back quite accurate, and some come back, that's really not there. So like you can't take it verbatim, obviously.
Well,
you're doing,
but because it learns off, like, so AI it doesn't reinvent, like it doesn't truly think for itself somewhere, yet, right? Like it's a very sophisticated algorithm, right? So it learns off our internet. So if we have, heaven forbid, but we have bad facts out there, or misinformation, it's got to figure out that that's bad too, right? So it's going to pull from stuff that isn't exactly accurate either, right? So
are you finding, Sonya, you're doing more rewrites though, or is it really giving you a solid base to work from?
I think it's giving me because I have so much on the go every day, like trying to, if it's a longer post or if a letter that I have to write, really it's just the solid base. It's the intro, the exit, the structure. And then if it's missing something, I know exactly where to put it. It actually probably cuts my time in half.
Okay,
that's what we're finding too.
Yeah, maybe even more. Maybe even more, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
because like you said, it sort of structures it. It's now just words I don't like, or I wouldn't have said it that way. That's not how I sound. So it's fixing that part, but at least it's a framework.
And you're not rushing too much in the end because you have the framework. I think
exactly
a lot. I think there's a lot to be said about it. But that conversation, I mean, we shouldn't get too much off topic because it's about my story, but I think a lot about education, right? How is this affecting the education system because students aren't thinking about what they're writing anymore? So
I worry about it because I think once students stopped in large part writing, like cursive, stopped doing more of the mental math that we had no choice because we didn't have the tools, or get so much more book reading done by someone reading the book to you or watching a movie, like, or a mini series. Do you know what I mean? Like they've lost a lot of those things. This is just another thing now that they're not doing. So it's not that they're not even handwriting. They're not even, it's not even the mental process of writing.
But it's not it's not a done affair though, right? Because I think some of the AIs have watermarks in them. So you can't, so the college that I teach at, we use a tool called Turnitin, and Turnitin analyzes your work to see, when you've plagiarized things that are on the internet, which is, now you're kind of like putting an AI against an AI, right? Like, so I don't know if it's a full out cheat, but I do worry that it's probably going to hand them more answers than than you'd like, probably, right? Because I think for kids, like for students, the process of forming an essay or how you communicate is just as important as the actual finished product. Like how like we're doing it because we're kind of experienced in the space, and we need to put out content and do it fast. For kids, content shouldn't be fast, right? It shouldn't be fast. It should be thought out. They kind of need to grind their way through ideas and sound it out first, right? So I worry about that for sure.
A good part of it, which is for anyone that struggles with creativity, or maybe they just for some reason don't have the creativity in their life, it can actually bring creativity. When I first saw a demo of it, it was a friend of mine that lives in my building that works for Microsoft, and as soon as he showed me, he's like, okay, write a love story and then make this art, and it did it in 2 minutes or something. And then he said, work Sonya's dog Patches into the love story. And I was just blown away, to be honest. So right there, though, it was showing me that this person has creativity, and then the more you read and the more you learn with AI, I think the more creative you can become, really.
I think you too, because then at that point, it's more augmented. Like you're actually helping me sometimes spit out what I know I want to say. I just can't spit it out. Right. So, and I think that's wonderful, or it gives me a creative angle that maybe I didn't think of. But again, I think because we're probably from a little older generation, at that point, we're going to do some more of I'll do the work. What I worry about is it's going to be you can't just push button and hand shit in. Yeah. And the schools have to stop that too. It's got to be a whole process where, you have to, like, where do footnotes go? Do I know the research you did? What did you do? Like, how did you know any of this? How'd you find out? Like, we used to sit in stacks, remember, in university. You'd sit on the floor and you'd go through countless, and you get sidetracked even on that, right? Go down a rabbit hole. I did that enough times. Enough rabbit holes thing. I don't know how the hell I ended up on this topic. It's not even close to what I started with, but whatever. But it was a learning thing, right? It changed how you I don't know. I just found it different, but anyway. So as people know, this is the second time that we've recorded this podcast. This preamble was not on the original, so all brand new content from there. No AI, all brand new content. We have Sonya. It's Laurenssen or Laurenssen?
In North America, it's Laurenssen. In Holland, I guess it would be Laurenssen.
Okay, so Sonya Laurenssen on the show. Sonya is the owner of Jusu Wellness. And they produce skincare and home care, different products. And she didn't start in the CPG space, which is interesting in its own right, and kind of scary that people actually later in life walk down these paths, but that's okay. That's a cool story unto its own. But next 45 minutes or so is you. Wherever you want to go with this, we'd love to know who you are, where you came from. Your industries are not from here, which I find fascinating. I find it seriously fascinating. Anybody comes into this space, and this we'll go where it goes. But the next 45 is you.
I have formal education in graphic design, so there's some part of it that has
CPG is a bizarre world, though. Like it's a bizarre space.
Yours. So we'll start from the beginning. I'm from Campbellville, Ontario. I grew up on a large potato farm. So I grew up as a farmer. I started working when I was 8 years old. We grew potatoes, but we also had cabbage, cauliflower, tomatoes, Romano beans, pumpkins, watermelons. We had some really great land. So that was a great childhood. Very different from probably my teenage years and on. But yes, it was, by 8 years old, I was driving a John Deere tractor, and my dad would leave me to work in the fields if I wasn't going to the market with him. I'd have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes to go to the Toronto market with my father. That was another experience that I really loved, actually, and just the bartering and getting a basket of cherries for a bushel of potatoes kind of thing. So that I was on the farm until I was 14, really learned a lot. My dad was, of course, farmers are very passionate, learned a lot about land and how to grow great produce. We had the soil in Ontario that's ideal is kind of a mix of sand and clay. And it was really good for growing potatoes because the sand lets the water drain, so it doesn't sit in too much clay, and the clay is really acidic. So if there's too much clay, it causes problems with the potatoes. So, yeah. And then I just after high school, originally I was supposed to go into kinesiology, and that changed somehow to the arts, and I decided to become a graphic designer. So I left, well, I didn't leave, but the farming kind of came to an end because my mother and father got a divorce. But I went on to design school at Sheridan College. There was a 4-year graphic design program. And I lived at home and went to school and absolutely loved it. I found it very valuable. And every year it was, I'd go back and do it again. I loved it so much. Then I moved to Toronto and worked freelance, worked at McLaren McCann Advertising for just 6 months actually, and then kind of hopped around job to job, eventually landing in the snowboard industry and as a graphic designer. So it was very exciting designing. You had a big canvas, so designing graphics for snowboards and applications for boots and bindings, and then all the marketing and everything that comes along with it. And then I had this idea of moving to the West Coast, and had an opportunity to move to Seattle and work for O'Brien Water Sports. So I took that opportunity, and I did that for, I'm trying to remember, almost 3 years. And that was the start of something really interesting. And I think it kind of molded what I am today, because it was very full on from the wakeboards, and then it kind of transitioned more into snowboards. I was thinking the other day about something that was really poignant, and that was one of the first projects I had at O'Brien Wakeboards was to design a custom graphic for Dallas Friday. She was the world champion. She was only 16 years old. She started as a gymnast, and that kind of makes sense. She became a wakeboarder, and she was the first woman wakeboarder to compete against men in the X Games. So that board that I designed for her, I won't get into that part of the story, but it was very much like paintbrush and creating this graphic by hand, and then I scanned it. And I don't remember how long it took me, but she loved the graphic, and the factory did a good job with it. It was all in kind of fast spoke glitter, and it landed on the cover of Wakeboard magazine, and that was the intro to, the action sport industry. So it was pretty amazing. And from there, I was in Seattle for about 3 years, and then my that job ended, so I had to leave the U.S. actually, because it was just a TN visa, so you could stay during the contract. And then I thought, well, I love the West Coast, and I had one cousin in Vancouver, so I decided to move up to Vancouver instead of going back to Ontario. And
I don't blame you. As a native Ontarian, I don't blame you.
I got a job just through connections as a creative director for a snowboard company. It's not a well-known, a lot of people knew Sapient at the time. This is almost, I guess it's 20 years ago now. And so Sapient was owned by this private company that owned a few big box brands. There's Lamar and LTD and M3 and Sapient along with it. And so I managed the whole creative team, and that entailed a lot. So we outsourced some of the graphics, because between 5 brands, we had, I want to say 200 board graphics to design every season, winter season. And then the boots and the bindings to go along with it. And then the websites, all the branded marketing content. And my job was to manage the graphics from initiation through to commercialization. So that meant traveling to Austria and Asia to oversee the production, to make sure that the graphics were printing properly, and if they weren't, I'd have to look at the production files. And I worked right at the factory in China, like day in, day out. I was there once for 3 months. I was supposed to go for 2 weeks, and I think it was going into winter season, and I didn't even expect it. It's usually, like 40 degrees with humidity there, and I only had 2 weeks worth of clothes and ended up staying 3 months. So I had to go try and buy clothes, but everything. I'm a size 8 at the smallest, and my shoe size is 9. So clothing, it was, I spent a lot of time looking for warm clothing, and shoes that did not happen. The biggest size was actually size 8. So none of that worked.
It's gotten better now, but I remember going for the first time when I was a teenager, and like I'm not a big guy, like I'm 5'9", right? I wear a size 10 shoe, but then back then I remember going into some stores, even in Hong Kong, where it's slightly more, Western. And they, I remember 2 of the shop owners telling me literally just like, I'd walk in, they go, "We don't have anything in your size. You should just go now." Right. Like,
save yourself the time.
Like, what the heck? All right. Okay. I guess I'll just go. Right. Like, yeah.
Some stores I didn't make it into because they'd just be looking at me walk by and walk to the threshold, and they go like this.
No, don't bother. Yeah, no, not going to happen. Not going to happen. Save us all the grief and aggravation.
There are some embarrassing moments. I really wanted one of those. I did buy one, a traditional silk Chinese dress.
Yeah.
So it was a hot day. I was in Hong Kong, and I went into the change room, which was super small, and I tried putting this dress on, and I couldn't get out of it. Like it wouldn't do up. And then the girls had to come into the change room and like pull the dress off of me.
Oh no.
And it was so sticky and hot. It was so embarrassing.
No. Oh no. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay.
So, but yes, so the snowboard industry. Oh, and on top of that, learning global sourcing and vendor management. So it was 10 years, probably it's like the heyday, the best years of my life in terms of being so immersed in different cultures and working 18 hours a day and loving it at that time. But I think it's also an age thing where it's not about willing to work, you just want to, and it's your energy level is crazy. I would have to work all day in China, and then I'd have to speak and meet with Vancouver at night. So you'd work till 6 p.m. and then go for dinner and have a nap, and then make sure that you're like fully awake for, what is that, like midnight or whatever before then, to work for a few hours and then go to sleep and get up. So it's like on average 4 or 5 hours night sleep, and 7 days a week usually. So yeah, it was amazing. And I think a lot of my drive now comes from that. And I realized when I was thinking about it, when I go to the ski hill, like to Seymour or Cyprus, and see my boards in the racks at the resort, or be on the chairlift going up the mountain and seeing my boards, it's just like, put a twinkle in my eye.
That's pretty cool.
And it's with any product. I feel so blessed to have this experience, and it's not just snowboards. It's now what I'm doing with skincare, to be involved right from the beginning, from the blue sky through to commercialization and selling B2B, B2C. It's so exciting. It's never stopped being exciting. So that's the connection for me. It's just bringing products to fruition. And I have this incredible talent of, well, not talent, but ability to make decisions. And it's just seeing the big picture. I can almost always see it. So it's like the evolution of a product too, where it needs to go.
It's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
Good thing having this space.
To be more sustainable, what should go first, what people will like. So that's the kind of the connection. And then I, for about 20 years, wanted to be a business owner. I found it very scary as a designer. I thought of, the usual thing and what people assume, because I was so driven and so great at bringing things to life. Everyone thought I would have my own creative agency, but it's a hard thing to do, and it didn't happen. And I started thinking about what I'd want to do, and I've had some really good ideas. I was really concerned. I think it comes from farming. I've always been very good at, no low food waste and sustainability and not having too much garbage or buying too many things. And I wanted to eliminate food waste years ago. I want to say at least 15 years ago. And I was trying to think how to do it. Logistically, it seemed like a nightmare. And I didn't even think about having people go to the locations instead of me taking the food from the restaurants or the grocery stores or the markets. That's what I thought I wanted to do originally, and have these different points of sale, basically. Mm-hmm. So then, that didn't go anywhere. I wish it would have. Still can, I guess. But then came along Too Good to Go. It's a great program. And when they did it and I saw it, and I actually partnered with Too Good to Go with Jusu Juice. And what a great program. And it's global. I don't know how they're doing now, but I love it. And then, so there's that. I had a few other ideas. Like I was going to open a restaurant at one time. We didn't talk about this last time. But I also love cooking. And
we'll be right back.
So, Phil, as you know, today's podcast is sponsored by Field Agent. And I don't know if I didn't really want to fool around with this one today. And I think because I want to try to make it quick, and I think it's serious. I think if you're listening to our podcast, you're a new brand launching, or you're a broker agent representing that brand, or a distributor, or in the marketing department, or in the sales department, I don't care where you are, is I think a group like Field Agent is something that is very important for you to be thinking of and thinking about using. Do you not agree?
I agree. I think one of the struggles that, whether you're big or small, is, when products launch, you spend so much time on the launching part or prepping for launch that once it launches, there's kind of there's a window of blindness, right? Because you can't see, you don't know what's happening. You might be, you wind up wandering through your local stores or getting anecdotal data from people coming in and out of stores to see, is it on shelf? Did it sell? Is it moving? Did they get the pricing right? Is it merched properly? All of those things are very large blind spots, right, for new launches.
They chew up too much time. By the time you get answers, those too far gone. So the reason I like in Field Agent and why I have no issues having them sponsors to the show is if you look at what their new product, which is 360 Innovation, it's designed so that when your product is just launching and just getting into stores, they're on it. Right. Mm-hmm. They're out there. They're in 400 stores, giving you a really good representation of where your product is within the country, where it is in the planogram, are the secondary displays up, whether it's a floor stand, an end, a half end, a quarter pallet, I don't care what it is, a sidewinder. Is your retail pricing done? And is done in a timely fashion, 2 weeks, 3 weeks after launching. Not the way it's typically been done in the past, where you're waiting 4 to 6 months, and by that time you've agitated the hell out of your buyer, and it's too late. The product's probably already discontinued, and you don't even know it yet. And if it's not verbalized in the back of the buyer's head, that product's gone. So I wish in a lot of ways, because I know even in the old days, I discontinued products that probably could have been my fault, where it really wasn't out in distribution and I had no way of telling, and I wasn't going to do the work.
But in fairness, that's also part of this is you can only see what you can see as a buyer, right? And then that's what you rely on. And so
I got other things to do too. I'm not there to babysit your brain.
And so Field Agent, 360 Innovation Booster is exactly that, right? Like for brands, it's visibility, it's an extra tool in your toolbox. And then for buyers, it's visibility they never had. So you're going to bring extra value to your buyer. I think the other things that are really cool about this is the early trial and consumer feedback. We spend a lot of time stressing over, look, we tested it before it launched, it launches, and then it just sits there, or it takes a long time for consumers to pick it up. The service that they provide allows for them to get you shoppers to buy the product and give you early trial and consumer feedback. It helps you with their buy and try service, so that like the consumer profile that's supposed to get this is going to get it. They're going to try it. build some awareness, and then you're actually going to get reviews from them as well, which is incredibly important, right? Like that's the strong start you need to kind of make sure that you can keep this thing going.
Where do you find them, Phil?
Head to fieldagentcanada.com/360, or you can email Jeff and the team at client@ca.fieldagent.net. Both of the links will be in our podcast show notes.
The whole
We're a good company. We did not talk about this, but both of us love food.
Love food.
Yeah.
Love food.
Love food.
Yeah. Another thing, I'm like, wow, I just can't believe. Well, I know why I didn't start a restaurant. It's a big thing to chew off. I think more than having.
It's craziness.
That's insanity.
Like CPG people are crazy, and like CPG people look at restaurants and go, "Those people are really crazy." Like
if you've got like
we're only mildly crazy, right? Like
if you got that death wish kind of thing going, that's what you do. That's a really, really tough gig.
So next month, Kenny's opening a restaurant.
Probably. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, honestly, who knows with this group I'm in now? I could get dragged into the restaurant business quite easily.
Yeah, any day. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I had pen to paper to sign a lease for a restaurant. Big dream. Anyways, I backed out. I was just like,
you got that close though.
So what kind of restaurant?
What were you thinking?
Yeah.
A taqueria in off of Dollarton Highway, you know where Stong's is.
Yeah.
There was still...
in North Vancouver, Phil.
Yeah. I follow.
So zoned for high density, good spot, because
that would have been a good spot.
Beautiful's there and they're doing really well. So
it's still a tough gig though. It's a tough gig. It just the hours on the door are not the hours of the restaurant, right? It's a bitch. That's a tough
if I have a partner, but even then. But so the part that I realized that I came out of with that was the most important, and it was, and I wrote this into my business plan, was the idea of no takeout dishes. And I know a lot of people are trying to do this now. It's still difficult to do, right? So years ago, I watched this great movie. I don't know if either of you've seen it. It's called The Lunchbox, and it's a love story in India but it also really educates people on the food delivery service there and how they do it without any waste. Where the stay-at-home moms or dads are chefs. They're really good cooks, and they service the business district. So you get these bike couriers, and they have their tiffin, the tiny tiffin. And so and it has a little metal tag on it, so it doesn't get lost. And that tag represents the person who's cooking the meal and the curry. So with the lunchbox, this woman was putting love notes in the tiffin, but then it was getting delivered to the wrong person. She thought it was her husband. Anyways, it's, if you can watch it, The Lunchbox. So that gave me
the lunchbox, got it.
To deliver to the business. So whether it's Arc'teryx or maybe Capilano College or the shipyards, delivering everything in these, and then you just need bike couriers to pick them up at the end of the day and wash them. And the city loved that idea. So there's a few people that have tried to start tiffin projects in Vancouver. There's still room for some, and then you get all the grocery stores that are starting the stainless steel container.
They're trying to, at least, right?
Yeah. Wait, what? No, I'm on the East Coast. We basically don't do anything unless, but we don't do this. Tell me about this. What's happening?
Yeah, I don't know who started it yet, but you can. I don't know why you would just bring your own container. I think maybe that's in the works too. But you can get a container, like a big metal vessel from the store, and you instead of buying a bag of beans or I'm thinking of a container.
Right, so you just bring your own. It's almost like
it's a containerless,
like a coffee mug.
Containerless,
sort of like bringing your own coffee mug to the coffee shop, right? Except this one holds coffee beans or lentils or whatever you want.
Dry goods would be relatively easy. Yeah. Wet goods, food becomes a little more complex.
Yogurt.
Like I grew up in Trail, right? So in Trail, we had a restaurant called the Collander's, Italian restaurant. To take out at the Collander was you brought your own pot from home, whatever pot you wanted. They'd fill it as much as you want, and that's what you took home. That's how takeout was. Yeah. Right down here, you know, our city and the rules and regulations and liability and on and on and on. It just, I think it becomes just a quagmire of red tape and issues that might be valid to some degree, but probably not in a lot of others. And it makes this complicated, I think.
There used to be a little restaurant on Commercial Drive that they didn't have takeout containers. If you wanted takeout, you had to have your own container. I forget what it was called.
That's the way, to me, that makes the most logical sense. But I know in Trail during COVID, they had to stop it. Right? No different than the coffee shops down here stop filling your mug. Right? Because I'm not too sure. I mean, that might have been just that situation.
So what do I do if I order takeout? I got to bring my
If you order takeout at the Colander in Trail, you would phone in, I want pasta and whatever. You bring down your pot or potsa.
Yeah.
And they would put your food into your pots and you'd go home.
Really?
Put it right on the stove, I guess, in essence, and heat it on the spot. That's how it was done.
Right.
You didn't have styrofoam or aluminum foil with none of that shit. Like that was too fancy.
You know, and then like I don't know if you like here between the different cities we have different recycling rules. So like if you're in the city of Toronto and you carry black plastic containers, you can't recycle those. Those go straight to the garbage. But I live in Mississauga, which is literally next door, and our recycling takes black containers. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you're kind of going like, wow, like,
I don't know.
You know, like something as well intentioned as that can go to like sideways. Can be really sideways and go to harm, right? So that's interesting. I'll await, it making its way across the prairies and over here
eventually to Ontario.
Yeah.
It's the bulk barn. That whole concept is all coming back, right? Well, you already see it with the distilleries, but you're going to see it in the grocery store. So you get the big funnels more now, and we'll go back to like scooping our peanut butter into our own container, which is fine. So that was that idea, and I guess we jumped forward. So through that, and then the product design bug continued, and I landed a job at John Flubog as the women's shoe designer and developer for around 2.5 years. And then after that, I worked for some startups designing shoes for them, which was super fun. Actually, it's really hard for startups in the shoe industry. And then it just kind of, I guess I wasn't willing to move off the West Coast, and it's hard to find shoe design jobs when you're not an industrial designer. But I gave it my all. And then after that, I worked more in marketing for a few years and as a project manager. So that's where I landed in the CPG realm. I worked for a group of companies under an umbrella company called Better Plant Sciences. And it was all wellness brands. So you had Como Comfort Foods, Neon Mind Coffee, it's functional mushroom coffee. And the company actually started with a skincare brand called Urban Jube. It was an Ayurvedic line that was infused with cannabis. So really great product, actually. But that company has since closed down. So the owner of Better Plant decided in the end, after 3.5 years, or a little longer than that, I was there for 3.5 years, that the CPG realm wasn't for her. She wanted to go back to what she did before, which was gold and mining. And so she decided to close down the majority of the companies. And we had just acquired Jusu from the founder, Bruce Mullen. So she only had the company for about a year or so. And when she acquired it, the company was going through a lot of growing pains. It was during COVID, and I just took it under my wing. They were going through a rebrand when she bought the company. So if you can imagine, there was over 100 SKUs. She wanted to add more SKUs. Only half the packaging was the compliant labels weren't compliant, but they redesigned half the labels. All the packaging was coming from China, but it was delayed. So I had to bring it all together, and I was for some reason, the person who was trying all of the products too at the same time. So I loved the brand and I loved the story. And that's kind of how it all got started. So Bruce Mullen, he started Jusu Juice in 2014. He had lost his wife to breast cancer and he had some health problems. He has 2 children. And the elder child is Brandon Mullen. Bruce decided that he wanted to work with Brandon, and Brandon would eventually take over the company. So they started Jusu Juice with the idea of becoming healthier themselves and helping other people be healthy. They were the first cold pressed juice company in Victoria, and they soon grew the business with multiple locations, one in Calgary. I actually don't know where all the locations were. And then a few years later, 2 years later, Bruce was working and he thought, well, there's a lot of waste from the juice, from the pulp of the juice. And he thought, what if we try and infuse skincare with the pulp from the juice? And he was just thinking about it. And one day at Cadbro Bay on the island, this woman by the name of Karen Van Dyke walked in. She's a natural perfumer and herbalist. And she said it wasn't Bruce, but someone else that was at the shop, have you ever thought of using the pulp for skincare? And he's like, yes. So that's how Jusu Body was born. And then it was at that time that Bruce thought, well, this could be a real lifestyle brand. We should keep going with this. What else can we develop? And that's why it has so many SKUs in the brand. So they teamed up with this woman named Amanda Schofield, who had her own natural cleaning company, cleaning home household supplies. So it all came together from there. So the skincare started in 2017. And then in 2020, Bruce sold the company to Penny, and he sold both Jusu bars, the juice, and Jusu Body and Home. And it became Jusu Wellness. So that's the story. And when Penny last year, January 22, Penny said she'd like to, switch it up and do something different, and that she was going to shut down Jusu. I thought, oh my gosh, like it has such great traction in the US, especially California, through Shopify sales. There hadn't been any distribution yet, but we were already in Healthy Planet and Whole Foods. And the original employees who are my employees now, Joella and Brittany, really love the brand, and they knew a lot about the brand. And I thought, well, if they want to be part of my team, then I'd consider buying the company. So that's what I did. And basically, not much has changed. I decided upon acquiring the company to drop a few of the products. I still should drop some more. Still, trying to figure out, look at analytics, see what products are my best sellers and make the most sense. And here we are. So in August last year, I partnered with Purity Life. So that's exciting. I'm still just concentrating on Canadian distribution, and definitely want to see what I can do in the US, but I don't feel like I'm there yet. Some of the new interesting vendors through Purity are spud.ca and well.ca. I'm interested to see where that goes. I just think it really makes sense, especially with Spud.
They'll do well with both. You'll do okay with both.
Right. And it just, me, I think from where I come from and what the whole idea of Jusu is, and I want to be as sustainable as possible, it makes sense if you're ordering all from one place, right?
Yeah.
It makes so much more sense than ordering off of Amazon to me. Spud is a great company, and I want to see it survive. I think everybody does. So, yeah.
So you've had it now for just a year and a little bit. When you took it over, like you're saying, so you had business in California, online. Do at that time was it did. So like you were doing okay there. How much distribution did you have at home, like in Canada? Did you have many, like Whole Foods was on that at that time or not on at that time?
So I acquired the company in April 22. We had just secured not just because we are already shipping to them, which, it's a long process for both Healthy Planet and Whole Foods, more so with Whole Foods.
Yeah.
So Whole Foods only carry there's 8 Whole Foods in Ontario. It's been hard to crack out west. I'm still working on it. I'm working on it with the rep. They only carry our skincare right now, and our soaps, our bar soaps. So yes, that was already set when I acquired the company.
Okay.
Pretty much, one of the main reasons. I don't know if I would have done it without those accounts.
And Whole Foods is a nice account to have.
Yeah.
Yes, and Healthy Planet is really, really,
Planet's
really
another fantastic. Yeah, absolutely.
So
but both of them are really anchors in a way, right? Like they're kind of good validators. The product is beautiful, right? But the
packaging is stunning. Like live, it's really
anchors
really
that kind of help everybody else go, no, this is legit. Like you need to have this, right? So anyone else who's thinking about it. So
I'm assuming Purity's helped with the distribution. Like you're in stores across the country now, and
it takes time. And I learned something from I guess a competitor from Calgary, and I really like his product, similar skincare product. I was talking to him the other day, I forget what about, something about distribution, and he was saying that now his concentration is he's concentrating on his current customers, not on getting more. So not right now anyways, and it makes so much sense, and you really have to keep that in point, right, and really make sure that they get the support they want. So it's kind of what I have on my mind. It's hard when I don't have a sales team, hopefully one day I will have a broker at the very least, but right now it's me. So I'm like thinking about going to Ontario and doing some demos.
It's a lot of
I really need to, but it makes a lot of sense. If I book them out, I can do some at Whole Foods and some at Healthy Planet, just at the main locations that move are right now, just at a few locations, not all of them.
It's a lot of work though, they're a lot of work, and demos, I mean, it's any given day how much traffic the store does get or doesn't get that day. It's like they're good, but they're challenging too, right?
They're very
Which is probably why everything's challenging. But I think that's why your friend in Calgary doesn't have the worst idea. I mean, sometimes it's easier to retain the converted than convert the ones that you don't have. Do you know what I mean? So you're better off sometimes to spend time with those who already like you or purchase from you, treat them well. Maybe they get the inside track on new stuff, or there's a deal here and there, whatever, just a personal contact. Even it's a not a bad play at all, especially when you are a one-person team.
Yeah.
It's
cost of acquisition versus lifetime value, right? Like if you really want to think of it that way, is
absolutely
like if I gotta spend cost of acquisition. So if I have to spend $45 to acquire a new customer, but I already have one that I can send an email to, and then they buy based on the experience, it's not $45 to reacquire, right? I've upped the lifetime value of the one customer and then not gone out and spent $45 on somebody brand new, right? So
exactly.
Sometimes the metrics really do. You can't live everything like that, but it does help in these situations. You do kind of go, like, now is a good time to make sure all of my lifetime value customers, their value goes up, right? And then I spend less.
Especially if you have a list. I'm assuming you've got, especially from your Shopify side, for sure you have a list. It's working those people for sure. Because I'm sure you're also finding that distributors are really, really good at moving boxes, and they get logistics really well, but they're not necessarily out there selling because they carry 3,500, 4,000, 5,000 SKUs. Where do you fit in that world? Right. So if you're not your own best brand advocate, who is?
It's pretty much my project this year. It's the product too, right? So it's one thing on my side is the natural product industry. It's definitely trending, but it's still convincing the buyer. So
100%.
It's way easier to convince the buyer when I'm in front of them. So if I can no matter what, there's good demo days, there's bad demo days, but I think there's so much value in it. If I have my cream and someone's trying it and they smell it and they feel it, they're gonna buy it. Whereas
you got good odds, at least if not on that time, the next time they're in, they're probably going to do something if they were interested enough to stop, for sure. Right, especially this category, because it's a very specific category. It's not, people don't.
Well, you can't do smell online, can you? Right? Like
not easily, not yet.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet.
Right? Like, but
not yet.
It's pretty amazing. I love the product. I love the way it looks.
Oh, the package is outstanding. Like, you got to see it live. It's like, the package is gorgeous. It really is very elegant, very pretty, very easy to read. It's really, really nice. You can tell it's done by someone who knows what the hell she's doing. I mean, it's really, really nice.
Thank you. Yeah, the product itself is even better than the packaging. Every single product we have, it's pretty strong. So it's you both have to try some.
For sure. What
no problem.
So this is the year, what you're saying. So this is the year where you're hopefully trying to get either more distribution, which we just talked about might be a little tougher to do than really maintain and grow the distribution you have. So what are sort of your plans? Like, what are you thinking? Are you, because there are two different roles. So it's consumer and the business guy. You got two people you're trying to please at any given moment.
I really think I have to maintain my relationships with the bigger players. That should be on the forefront. But also, we've talked about this last time. Sustainability is really important for me. I mean, it takes money. It's one thing with being an entrepreneur, especially in this space. It's like a chess game, right? You really have to, it's such critical thinking, and you can only, really have to make the right moves with budgets and everything. I in a perfect world, I want all of my single unit sizes, off the shelf sizes, to be in pouches. I just think there's so much value in that. They transport well. It's great if you can have this and then you buy the 1 liter pouch. I just think it's really so much better.
It's amazing. Think about it. You can put 500 pouches flat in the same case that you put 12 bottles.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, your carbon footprint just goes right to a beautiful spot, relatively speaking. I mean, especially a lot of packaging isn't made here. It's made overseas. I mean, you're at least doing a part for sure.
So there's that component, just my bulk sizing,
right?
Nurturing my current relationships. I have some new accounts that are really, I dream about them. Nature's Emporium to me is just, it makes so much sense that I'm in Emporium. So we're working on that with the rep. His name's Thomas. And then Nature's Fair just seems like they're, a lot of the Patterson's umbrella stores it's taking time now.
Yeah, because there's more wait. It'll get longer as it goes on.
What's the, like, with the buyers now? Are they kind of clear on the value prop? So is it an issue of, because like all of these categories are, it's full of players that probably don't offer the benefits you offer, right? That don't have the feature set or the benefits you offer, but it's a awfully crowded category with a lot of players in it. So how does that factor, right? Like, cause you got any shelf where you've got body lotion and you kind of need to like, you need more than a minute, right, to figure out where you are and how many kind of different brands there are. Like, are buyers kind of seeing through some of the clutter now to kind of be aware of the benefits you bring, or is that kind of still one of the big things you've got to be able to sell?
I'd love to think they can see through it. I don't know. Right now, I'm trying to stay focused and really, and that's all you can do, right? Like, if you have a good product, plus I didn't come from a sales background. I'm learning that part. So that's why I'm focusing on my nurturing. But this year, last year, you get all of a sudden these brands launching that obviously I can't name any names, but they're big. They have a lot of funding, and I don't know if they have the same pure formulas as mine or not. I actually don't know, but it's competitive. I'm not sure. I'm
Yeah,
still.
it's a tight space. Yeah.
It's a lot of it's relationships. It's so much about
How many SKUs
relationships.
do you have right now, Sonya? Like what's your SKU base look like? In terms of don't give me, just give me the beauty side first, then the house side.
There's 14 in the skincare lineup. So there's 4 moisturizers, 3 cleansers, 4 night oils, a face mask, 2 serums. And then on the body side, there's 4 lotions, a few hand soaps, some bar soaps. We have a hair care line, which is small. I'm thinking of cutting the hair care line.
That makes sense. That's a tough category, and that's a tough category on a good day. I mean, the other ones are tough just because regiments are typically it's hard. Like if you watch, I mean, we came from these industries. If you watch how the main consumer in these sets shop, he or she really doesn't pick this eye serum from this person and this face from that person and this arm from that person and that hand from this. Like that's not how they're very regimented. There's, it typically stays within a brand to a degree. It doesn't have to be all the time, but that is how it plays typically. It's, so what do you focus on? Like, and these are just questions we're asking because I'm more curious. I think because I just like what you do, but like you're going to be out there in sales. When you're going in, what are you selling? Are you selling the house side? Or are you going after the face and skin, or is it body and then it's hair? Like,
well, it is a lifestyle, considered a lifestyle brand. So
right.
all for the fact that it is pure. It's just essential oils and botanicals. There is no fillers, absolutely none. Everything's all natural. I'd love to even say that we're 100% vegan, but we use some honey and pearl powder, so we can't call ourselves vegan. But the other part of the story is the no fragrance. Like that's something that's pretty big right now. I find that's going on is people are realizing that even some natural companies say they're all natural. They're not, because they're using fragrance. So our product lines, especially the skincare and the body care, not the home care, similar. It smells good too, but it was designed by a perfumer. So the scents are unbelievable, and they're meant to be unbelievable, but it's more about the effects they have. It just all works together. It's a great synergy. So that's pretty much my USP is, they smell great. They're not offensive. They don't give someone a migraine. And the blend of oils and botanicals are highly effective. You have things like one of the biggest sellers in the skincare line is the hydration cream. It has bakuchi and borage and carrot seed oil. It's just, so bakuchi oil is a natural form of retinol, basically. It mimics retinol. Right. There's all these amazing oils and botanicals that do great things naturally. And that's the trend there. There's a huge trend for the natural ingredients. And lost my train of thought. But when I'm so I do concentrate on the whole brand, the whole story. In terms of selling, I do veer towards skincare just because it's in the glass packaging. People they're really drawn to it, and it's my highest margins. So
nothing wrong with that strategy.
Right. And but then on the other, there's 2 sides of my business, which we sell in bulk too, right? We sell wholesale to cleaning companies, and I'm trying to get into boutique hotels. So on the bulk side, it's not skincare at all. It's some cleaning, but mostly body care that the refilleries are loving. So that's the other part of the business.
But you're one person, and when I look at it, like even from the other side,
it's a lot.
Is that hair could be one buyer. Body could be the hair buyer, but doesn't necessarily have to be. Body and skin could be the same buyer, but not necessarily. Definitively, the houseware buyer is not the skin buyer.
Totally different. Yeah.
And then if you go down into hotels, you've got the cleaning side, and then you've got the, refill in the room side, which probably not the same buyer as well, or potentially not. You got a lot of a lot of
So
spots you have.
There's a lot of complexity, right? Because if you think of even like if you think of so coming from this, like having been in this space with a really big guy, right? As you kind of go, when I look at body and I look at body, face, and hair, someone who extends all three categories, you know, body, for example, is a great place to land, you know, is to land an entry, right? Because body is the lowest, you know, like if I can get someone into a natural body lotion, you know, at a cheaper price or whatever, right? Like it's the entry point, right? Because they like the scent, they like the feel, it doesn't harm their skin. It's the entry point that opens the door to go, well, listen, there's more stuff here, but now I trust the product, right? Or you know, you look at like Aveeno went the other way. Aveeno went, yeah, you know, we've got the oatmeal lotion and that got us through the door. But then if we do like body and then a hair, all of a sudden everything else, like, because quite honestly, body and hair are what Aveeno's known for. All the face stuff, it's you know, but they can sell it, right? Because now there's trust in the lineup, right? So, but it's hard, again, like to Kenny's point, it's hard. You're selling these to different buyers, and then you've got to be able to manage the game in these to kind of push and pull the levers to make this thing go, right? It's a lot.
Especially if you're one person. Like like if you're in the independents, yeah, you might have one person that buys the entire store. But that's not the reality once you get into 10,000 square feet. It just that doesn't play anymore, right? And now what do you do with your time and your efforts? And now your SKU rat becomes important. Like maybe you do drop hair. I'm not saying to do that. Or, you know, you look at expanding another spot and exiting this spot or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Like, are you finding challenges with, I hate to say supply chain these days, but like, how are you on supply chain? Because you're making about 30 some products. And I'm assuming
honestly, that part is the easier part of my business. I mean, I'm not, my production manager might speak differently, but
for you, it's not the hardest part.
It's another selling point. We still make everything in small batches. So like
amazing
for face creams, we do 50 ml face creams. We only make a 4-liter jug at a time and we ship fresh. So every time a big order comes in from not just a chain, bigger refilleries or just our bigger accounts, we make to order. So we don't, you know, we've never, knock on wood, we rarely run out of something and have supply chain issues. It's
but you can manage your growth, I guess, at this point then, right? Because if you do, you know, if you land a store with 50 locations, a 4-liter may not suffice.
We've already have a partnership with a co-packer, a really great co-packer on the mainland. So it's just when I'm ready, when I have the ability and funds to go after the bigger retailers, then we will move over to the natural co-packer at that time. So it's which would be really nice, but at this time making small batches is really working for us. So I really don't have those projections in terms of when we'll make it into big grocery chains. It's expensive, right? Really expensive.
Yeah, you don't even have to. At the end of the day, that's really your decision too. You don't have to be in every location all over the planet if you don't want to be, or too.
I mean, I'd be in a, you know, if I get into Whole Foods West Coast, I'm going to be really happy. So.
You get in Whole Foods West Coast, you will be very happy. They move a lot of product. They're a very good retailer. You know, and that does open the doors to a lot of others who will just look and say, well, if Whole Foods do it, we can do it. Right. And you could stay to your point in the independents, do 300-400 stores, let's say BC, Alberta, and have a very nice existence and help a lot of people out and make people very happy.
Yeah. So Alberta is a really great market for us. And we used to, Bruce had juice stores in Alberta. So there's some connection there.
Cool.
Oh, this is really cool.
Cool.
This is really cool. Are you coming to CHFA?
I am. I'm excited, and my staff will be there. So all three of us, the whole team.
You're doing a booth with Impurity?
Within Purity, yes.
Okay, we'll see you at the show.
Okay, we'll come by for sure.
100%.
Yeah, we'll need to smell it.
Okay too.
We need to smell it.
Absolutely.
I love it. That
was great. This one I'm sure recorded. It sounds like the recording's fine.
It's there.
So we should be good to go.
No, your voice is great.
No, your voice is perfect. Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much
Sonya,
for doing this.
If people wanted to find you or the products, where, how?
So the website's getjusu.com.
Perfect.
And I'm Sonya at getjusu.com. I'm very reachable. I do all the customer service. So
you're like a one-man show. You're out there,
customer service, production,
calling,
sales,
you're doing demos,
logistics,
you're answering all the
marketing, graphic design. Wow. It's a one-person team.
Craziness. We love it.
Good. It's all part of it.
Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for coming back on. Thanks for helping us out with this one. That was good. I'm glad you were able to make it work.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I've been listening to your podcast, so just
thank you so much.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and I saw your TikTok, Phil. I thought, I don't know if you.
Oh, yay! I know. I was like, I need to. Yeah.
Phil's a TikTok superstar, baby.
Sure.
TikTok superstar. Sure. Sonya, have a nice. Go ahead.
Oh no, it was Phil tagged me. It was the first time, and it came up, and I'm like, "Where's this coming from? Instagram? Where's it coming from?" And then I realized it was TikTok, and it excited me so much.
Big leagues. That's awesome. Sonya, you have a great afternoon. Enjoy the rest of the day. Looks like we have some sun down here, so take advantage of it. I think it's cold outside. I haven't been outside yet today, but it looks nice. And Mr. Chang, if you could stay on, that'd be great.
Got it.
Sonya.
All right, Sonya. We'll see you soon.
Take care. We'll see you at the show.
Bye. Awesome.
I'm glad that worked out.
I'm so glad she came back on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very diverse.
Yeah. As you guys heard at the beginning, I screwed up the first recording. So
whatever.
Yeah.
We got it done twice. It's a good story twice. So I don't really care.
Yeah. No, it was a good story. I didn't mind it.
Anyway, very, very interesting. Very different space to come from. Like that's definitely not a CPG start. I love the boards though. I think it's a cool place to.
Yeah, that's pretty
cool. So
yeah.
Anybody, boy,
awesome.
It's 3:00. I gotta hop on a call.
Okay.
I will chat with you later. Thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you. Bye guys.
Ciao.